This has got to be a reasonably short period of time because everybody's got planes to catch, and so let's make it questions either to me or to Tom.
Yeah.
And otherwise he doesn't justify his fee.
My exorbitant fee.
You're exorbitant. So if we can, is there any chance of roving Mike?
Yeah, what would you, any questions? Anything you'd like to know about
Yeah.
Peter or myself? Past, present, future? Yes? No? Well, thank you all for
Right,
coming.
let's go
That's
over.
terrific. Just brilliant.
What future projects do you have?
Oh,
Yay!
there's a microphone.
A microphone.
Oh, hey, this works great. Thanks, guys.
No, Mike.
Never mind.
You want to know what projects we have in the future? So, the vast majority of the work I do is not related to Star Wars or movies in general. I do a lot of movie trailers and commercials. So every day I'm working on something, but it's usually like TV commercials or radio commercials or something. But in terms of animation, I just recorded the Smurfs 2 movie, but that's about it.
We've got several movies in the pipeline, which have taken anything up to 2 years to get planned, financing, and all the necessary things that go with those things. But if I told you about them, I'd have to kill you. So just be aware of what's the websites and things, and you will be pleased, I hope, that some of the stuff that I'm involved in, and it's just a question of getting it out, getting it right, and seeing if the fans enjoy it. If they don't enjoy it, we'll change it. Anybody else?
Yes. Yeah.
I have no microphone, but I'll speak loud as I can.
Yeah.
Peter, how has doing the Star Wars movies impacted your life?
How long have we got? Enormously. Really enormously. Mere fact that we can do things that we never ever thought about doing. You go places, you meet people, you see things totally, completely different. I suppose it's the biggest thing. It's kind of like leaving high school and going to college. That kind of bounciness. One, you know what you're going to do. You go out to college. You don't know what the hell's going on because it's all new to you. And that's the way I found it. That we were, it was a total difference to what I've been used to doing before. So yeah, it's a complete difference. Anybody else?
Yes.
Yes.
More direct to you, Tom. What inspired you to, start in the voice acting business, and to those who are interested in getting into the voice acting business, what is some advice that you can give to them?
Well, I was a kid when I started doing it. I was 15, and I just thought it would be fun to hear myself on television. I didn't know that anybody got paid to do it, and I was the class clown that always did the silly voices and made my teachers crazy. My first grade teacher actually tied me to my chair with jump ropes on more than one occasion, which probably wouldn't be allowed anymore. But
we can try it.
Yeah, but yeah, I really didn't. I wasn't. The internet didn't exist, so I couldn't Google where Hollywood was or how to get into cartoons. So I didn't know any of that stuff. I just started calling the local advertisers that had particularly bad commercials and offering my services. And one day, one of them took me up on it, and their ad agency found that I could do all these different dialects and stuff, which just didn't happen back in the Midwest 30 years ago. And so my second job, my second trip to a studio was 5 paid, Screen Actors Guild TV spots. And so not only did I have fun doing that, I suddenly made a lot of money at the age of 15 and realized, hey, this could be a career. Nowadays, they say it's easier to get in some ways, but it's also harder because there's so much more awareness about it. Everyone and their brother thinks they want to get into voiceover work. I mean, when I started doing movie trailers, for instance, in the late 80s, there were 6 of us, literally 6, that did all the movie trailers in Hollywood. Well, now that number's mushroomed to about 20. but you have to understand, animation's very difficult to get into. You have to live in Los Angeles, and that's a deal breaker for most people. If you can't pick up and move to LA, it will forever remain a dream. And even if you can get to LA, you have to be good. I mean, it's not enough that your grandma tells you you're good, or your friends at the party tell you you're good at doing voices or whatever. I'm just being honest here. You have to be good enough to beat me. You have to you have to audition against Tom Kane, who's SpongeBob, or Jim Cummings, who's Winnie the Pooh and Tigger, and Billy West, who's half of the cast of everything. Because all of those guys, including me, we still audition for every part that comes up. So, it's not enough to be, a few beers at a party good. You have to be someone who leaves a director going, gosh, do I choose between this new kid or Billy West? But it happens every year. Somebody new gets into the business, and
But what about the 20 that leave?
Then there are 20 that leave.
Similar to acting, but anybody else?
Thank you.
Certainly. Yes. Yes.
I know that you enjoyed your work with Gandhi. If you had the opportunity, would you do any more with him? If you were to get back into cartoons?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's talking about Genndy Tartakovsky and Craig McCracken, who did the Powerpuff. They were creators of the Powerpuff Girls and Foster's Home and a number of other things. And they were terrific. I mean, they're creative and they're nice. And they're just terrific guys to work for. I'm actually kind of sad they're not a team anymore. They've kind of gone their separate ways. Gendy's doing the new feature film, the Hotel Transylvania or something like that. And I'm not sure what Craig's working on, but I'm sure they'll both succeed because they're immensely talented folks. But I'd love to work with them again. Yes.
How do you prepare for a part if it's a new character, not an established voice like Mel Blanc type characters? Do you look at the drawing? Do they give you directions? Do you come up with your own voices for a character?
Some of all of the above. If it's an existing character like Yoda, you don't try to come up with anything new, of course. You're trying to nail something that exists. If it's a brand new character, they give you some direction. I mean, there'll be a sketch, there'll be a description. When I auditioned for Mr. Harriman on Foster's Home, he's a 6-foot-tall bunny rabbit in a tuxedo, a top hat, and he's got a monocle and a big brushy mustache. And they said, we want him to sound like a blustery British colonel. Well, so that made it easy. I mean, there was not much latitude there. It's, good heavens, So, but yeah, I mean, there's always, very rarely do they just say, come up with a new voice, and you just have no clue what to do. They always have some guidance. He can tell you, you meet with directors. And
yet, one case that tied in with what you've just been saying, George was looking for a crack character, and he went over and saw Stuart Freeborn. Stuart asked him what he wanted to see in this particular character. George said, look in the mirror. And if you know Stuart Freeborn, he is Yoda with a pair of ears. I've got pictures on my table that Stuart is the old man, and I think some of your interpretations of his voice are really remarkable.
Oh.
And George said, right, I want this. Stuart said, okay, you've got it. Then it was taken and given to the sound department, blah, 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 and then we have Yoda.
That's funny.
So it all works in with one another. So,
Yes.
Peter, what did you do prior to being Chewbacca, and how did you become Chewbacca?
I was in the right place at the right time. I had done one movie before, which was Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger, a Ray Harryhausen film, directed by Sam Wanamaker, and Patrick Dwayne was a star. Jane Seymour was the beautiful princess. So you started up fairly high in the young Hollywood set, and all the special effects guys were making the products, making the suits and stuff. I was the Minotaur, so you can imagine 8 foot plus suit, and we went out. We were in Malta doing the location work, and on the plane back, someone said to me, "Would you like to do some more?" Of course I would. Having had about 3 months in the sunshine, I thought, this is great. And so, come 6 months later, I get a phone call. Oh, they're looking for a hairy creature, 8 foot plus. George Lucas would like to see you, do an interview. When can you come up? It was arranged. Walked into George's office, which is about half the size of this room. Not that, and one side had all the drawings. There was the main characters in the middle. One end was Vader. I looked at that. Nah, it's too small. It was 6'7". So, and on the other end was, as was currently christened, the walking carpet. And that we can thank Kerry for. Get that walking carpet out my way. And I sat down on a chair, door opened, I stood up. George is not the biggest of men. He put his, we shook hands. He turned around to Gary Kurtz, who was the associate producer. He said, I think we found him. The whole interview was 20 minutes. We go down to the costume shop, get measured for the costume, and 3 weeks later we are doing Docking Bay 94. It's that quick. Obviously, they'd seen something that they could work with, and it had to be 3 weeks because the original first unit were out in Tunisia doing the sandcrawler stuff, and they had to be back on Elstree Studios on 3 weeks. So they had 3 weeks to get that costume completely made. They made it, and as they say, the rest is history.
Yes.
Was it warm? Was the costume warm?
Slightly warm. It was mohair wool with yak hair through it.
Itchy?
No, because I had a leotard underneath it. But it was warm. But the only place that I really came to appreciate it was not on Star Wars, but on Empire, where we had about 14 or 15 feet of snow, and I was the most comfortable one up there. When you got 15, 20 degrees below, kind of nice to have 3 or 4 layers under. A different thing when you've been told to run to walk in the snow, get it looking like a bear in the snow, and then you put it back. You put that particular costume back into we had a hot changing room. What happens when you put mohair with ice in it into a microwave? It melts. It looked like a drowned rat. Combination of drowned rat and cat. Rather heavy. So we got over that, and luckily it was only a couple of weeks. It was only about a week up there. Then we came back to civilization, and we could change. But luckily we had 3 or 4 costumes, and we could change them almost every day, or depending how often it was done, you needed to keep it smelling nice, and that's putting it mildly. So, it's been a wonderful career, and being able to sit down and come to conventions and talk to people like this. It's just really, really remarkable. Anybody else?
Yes.
Tom, I know for you being a veteran voice actor, you've done so many roles that sometimes it's kind of hard to recall what you've done. Just what are some of the roles that you really remember being fond of doing and enjoying?
Well, it's the odd ones, I think, that sort of stick out. I mean, Yoda's my favorite, of course, but and my favorite series overall was Powerpuff Girls. But some of the individual things that were weird, like I was Stanley Kubrick picked me to be the voice of HAL 9000 when they needed to resurrect that voice. Only did one thing one time. He's like, "Good morning, Dave. You're looking well today." But
You lie.
but yeah, that I got to because of the voice, I've gotten to do the Academy Awards. I mean, I announced the Academy Awards 4 times, and the AFI Lifetime Achievement Awards and stuff. So, I've gotten to meet a lot of big stars that way. But it's just, all kinds of just odd little things that have happened. Like, I always tell the story about how people talk about the William Shatner doing the sabotage thing, and I was actually at the studio when that happened. So these weird little things that some of which don't even directly involve me, but because you're part of the industry and it is he'll vouch for it. It's actually a very small town in that regard. So it's amazing how many people run across each other and know each other, and just odd little things that happen to you. So the rat in the ceiling.
I thought it was someone trying to get in. Anybody else?
Anybody else? Yes. Yeah.
So, for you, what was it like not having a voice role in Star Wars, other than, several times being around everybody else?
It worked in a remarkable way. It made me feel like a mime character. And you try and speak through a polystyrene mask using only body and eye language. It's very, very difficult. And it just happened that I knew roughly what George wanted, and we had the conversation. Chewie's got to be there, and you cannot stand in a group of people without saying anything. So your body's got to be working. All right, voiceover actors, they use other parts of their body. I have to use all my body, from the head down to my toes. Otherwise, it does not work. So we tried it, it worked. And I know this for a fact, that if Chewie hadn't come up to standard, he would have been out in 2 weeks. They would have replaced him with someone different in 2 weeks. So, fortunately, I think I must have been doing something right. Just having been there, obviously, the more you have association with people, the easier it becomes, because you're reading their minds almost constantly. So it does work, and I think we did I did a pretty good job. So nobody complained. So we're still here. Anybody else?
Yes.
On that same subject, Peter, how much of your own influence went into the Chewie character?
Quite a lot. But there's one thing which I cannot understand. Right, you'd be sitting in the green room, waiting to go on set, and you'd have the costume on. They'd say, right, put the mask on. You can be talking to anybody. Put the mask on. Go on set. You've rehearsed it. Suddenly, Chewie comes alive. There is no explanation for this. Otherwise, I would over a period of all the 4 movies, I would have realized what was going on. But there is nothing. I can't work it out. That it needs something that is his own personality. You do the scene, you come back, you take the head off, you get wiped down with a sporting knife, and suddenly you're back to normal. I can't explain it, and I've talked to a lot of people that I've told them the same story. Just doesn't. I just cannot understand it. Even if you're on big, like when Chewie got the Lifetime Achievement Award, same thing. Go there, put the head on, Chewie comes out. You do the bits, you do the business with Gary, go off, take the head off, you're back to normality again. I just cannot explain it. So. And on that note,
All right, we got 5 more minutes. Anybody
5
else?
minutes.
Do a voice for us?
Oh, God. Well, let's see. I'll give you the rundown.
Oscars. Do the Oscars.
Oh, well, sure. Okay. Live from the corner of Hollywood and Highland, it's the 84th Annual Academy Awards. And now, here's your host, Mr. Jon Stewart. You know, I do that. Of course, a Jedi Master you have found. Yes. Or at least his voice. And, of course, there's Professor Utonium from the Powerpuff Girls. That Mojo Jojo was the worst lab assistant I ever had. And on the same show as him as, oh, hello, Powerpuff Girls.
Hello. Someone we last we were at a show last weekend, and someone was asking about the voice, expecting, how does Chewie do the voice? And if I can get this right, it went, hello, my name is Chewbacca. I'm a Powerpuff Girl. And it not only turned into It was meant to be a little boy's voice, but that one came out rather wrong, and I hope they're not recording it. If they are, you can buy it on petermayhew.com.
Well, now what was it? What was the combination of animals that they used for
It was a bear and a dog.
Really?
Yeah, and yet when we did the cartoon series, I had the honour to be asked to do
Oh yeah.
Chewie
Yeah, I heard
recorded in glorious Technicolor up at Skywalker Ranch with Matt Woods, Dave
Filoni. Yeah.
Dave Filoni. They were all in this tiny little recording studio, no bigger than sort of from where the TV is down here.
Yeah.
So there's about a dozen or so people and one tiny mic. It was weird.
He's too humble to tell you, but I got to tell you, they were all, pardon me, they were crapping themselves. They all, because they don't usually fly us up there to do that. We did, they fly, but they flew him up to the ranch to do it, and everybody was just, because even though they work up there, most of these people never get to meet Peter or anybody else in the show, and so all of a sudden, I mean, I was getting emails from, oh my God, I just met Chewbacca.
Well, George always tells the story of when they were doing for the cartoons, he had to keep 4 or 5 artists up there, bribing them that I was going to be coming up. And the phrase was, do you want to meet a Wookiee or do you want to meet the real Wookiee? Oh, we want the real Wookiee, George. Here he is.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
And for lunch, we have Peter Mayhew on toast. This is what I like. Working with Tom, it's so easy to move around. And I don't know about you, but I prefer to do radio interviews.
Yeah.
They're much easier because you don't feel, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to look good, blah 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 blah. Tom always tells the story when his adopted kids are up at about 3:00 in the morning. Tom will do a couple of adverts, put the bottles in a baby's mouth, go away, do it in your studio.
Yeah.
But you can just see him, baby in one arm.
Trying to do a commercial. Like, shh.
Hello, this is Tom Kane. How do you feed your baby? I use Ostamilk.
Yeah, it gets a little weird working at home.
Yeah. So it's amazing that, I don't know, we just, certain people get along, and we are just fortunate that a lot of the Star Wars people do get along extremely well.
I must admit, because I'm part of the new kids on the block, when it comes to the Star Wars universe, and speaking of children, and
that's the wife.
But to go from a fan, which I was, to now getting to be friends with people like him and meeting all these people, it's surreal. I mean, it's just, but in a wonderful way. I with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 of the entire cast and crew that I've met of the original series, they're all just they're wonderful. They're folks like you. They just happen to be 7.5 feet tall. But yeah, no, it's really fun.
But also, when you take it the other way around, with Kenny,
at
3'8", little Kenny Baker at 3'8".
Yeah.
So, how are we doing for time?
I think we're about right. Yeah. I got to tell you, the first time I met any of these people was at the first celebration I went to. And so I'm completely starstruck. I'm barely even able to talk. They don't know me. I'm just this guy that they're like, he's the new Yoda. And we're all getting on this bus to go somewhere, and Kenny Baker's standing in front of me. And Dave Prowse is on the bus already. And Kenny's friend, who's also a little person, is behind me, and she goes, "Can you give him a lift?" And I'm like, "What?" She goes, "He can't get up the stairs. Can you give him a lift?" And I'm like, "Whoa, what? Okay." So my first experience meeting these people, I pick up R2-D2, and I go up the steps. I carry him up onto the bus, and he's like, "You're hurting my ribs." He goes, "You're hurting my ribs." I'm like, "I'm sorry. God, I'm hurting R2-D2.
Be careful where you put your hands too.
But finally, I sat down. I went and I sat down, and I'm just sitting here going, "What in the just happened?" So anyway, thank you guys for coming.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.